Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into one of the absolute most culturally dense, historically rich, and let's be honest, visually stunning places on the planet, Italy. But listen, we aren't just going to bounce around randomly here. Nope. We're taking a very structured, top-to-bottom journey down this California-sized peninsula. As we move from the super elegant north all the way down to the vibrant, kind of chaotic south, we're going to trace this fascinating cultural shift. It's essentially, well, it's a descent into intensity.
Actually, our source material today kicks things off with a fantastic little warning from seasoned traveler Rick Steves that perfectly captures the vibe of this trip. He says, "Hold on to your raviolis." I love that. It's just a great reminder that, sure, we're going to look really closely at some world-changing art and awe-inspiring history, but we're also here to experience the sheer joy, the spectacular food, and that undeniable dolce vita, the sweet life, that Italy is so famous for. It really is the complete package.
Okay, let's quickly look at our roadmap. Here's how our journey's going to unfold. First up is Venice. Then Florence. Next, we hit the rustic coastlines and historic hill towns. After that, Rome. Then we're getting into that southern intensity with Naples and Amalfi. And finally, we'll wrap up with the beautiful chaos of Sicily.
All right, stop number 1, Venice. Seductive and serene.
Now, for centuries, Venice was this incredibly mighty maritime power. It's a remarkably preserved historic city that historically earned the nickname La Serenissima, which translates to the most serene place. And just thinking about those quiet canals, you can totally get why that name stuck. It perfectly captures the incredibly seductive charm of the old Venetian Republic. That serene, powerful vibe is really beautifully anchored by the Piazza San Marco. That's the main square where you'll find the old ruling center, the Doge's Palace, and the absolutely spectacular Basilica of St. Mark. What's so incredible about Venice's architecture, especially the palace and the basilica, is that it's this distinct, shimmering blend of Eastern and Western styles. You look at the glittering gold leaf mosaics and those elaborate domes, and it's a direct reminder of Venice's really close trading ties with the Greek, Byzantine, and Muslim worlds. Today, honestly, it's a city sitting in a state of elegant decay, surviving mostly on the artificial respirator of modern tourism.
But get a load of this number, 100. That is roughly the number of islands that actually make up the city of Venice. Yeah, Venice isn't built on solid ground at all. It's this crazy, car-free maze laced together by several hundred bridges and a vast web of canals and tiny alleys. You definitely don't take a bus here. You hop on a Vaporetto, which is basically a boat that works exactly like a city bus running up and down the Grand Canal. It's an environment that literally forces you to slow down, to walk to the far reaches of the town, and to just experience life at a highly romantic, intensely beautiful level. Moving right along to Section 2, Florence, the Renaissance epicenter.
So if you take a handy train ride just a couple of hours south, you arrive in Florence. This was the economic powerhouse and the literal cultural explosion that, about 500 years ago, helped pull all of Europe right out of the Middle Ages. And I'd argue nothing captures the true spirit of Florence better than Michelangelo's statue of David. Originally, David stood towering over the city's main square, acting as this profound, defiant symbol for the Florentine people. Our source describes David perfectly. He's sizing up the giant Goliath, he's thoughtful, he's incredibly self-assured, and he just seems to be thinking exactly this: I can take this guy. That micro-narrative of a shepherd boy taking on a massive giant was an incredibly apt symbol that inspired everyday Florentines to tackle their own Goliaths and push human boundaries.
If you really want to see exactly how Florence changed the world, honestly, you just have to walk through the Uffizi Gallery. Following the timeline of the gallery's collection takes you on this epic sweep through Italian art history. You start with the early devotional art of the 12th century, move straight into that incredible 15th century Renaissance awakening, and go all the way to the 17th century high Baroque grandeur. During the Renaissance, folks started doing something radical. They started seeing the glory of God reflected directly in the beauty and harmony of the human body. The absolute ultimate culmination of this idea? That's Botticelli's famous painting, The Birth of Venus. It's widely considered the purest expression of Renaissance beauty, showing the goddess of love waking up from the foam of a wave, beautifully mingling human beauty with the fresh, airy spaciousness of nature.
Up next, Section 3, Rustic Coastlines and Historic Hill Towns.
All right, and after all those magnificent, intense urban thrills, we definitely need a slight breather. And the really crucial point here is that not all of Italy's history is just grand empires or super wealthy art patrons. Let's look at the Cinque Terre. This is a ridiculously seductive stretch of the Italian Riviera. Cinque Terre literally translates to 5 lands.
It's 5 tiny, rugged communities that were originally built in the protective shadows of stony castles. And why were they built there? To defend against medieval Turkish pirate raids. Crazy, right? But when the threat of those marauding pirates finally faded, these 5 castles evolved. They slowly grew into these gorgeous pastel jumbles of homes filling the ravines, with local economies based purely on fish, olives, and grapes. Today, the castles really only guard glorious views of a traffic-free, naturally isolated coastline. Honestly, it is Italy at its absolute most relaxed.
Heading inland from that coast, we hit the famous regions of Tuscany and Umbria. Now this is the land of feisty, historic hill towns, literally towns perched way up high on hills for safety during Italy's really fragmented medieval past. But to truly understand the enduring, everyday traditions of these small towns, you kind of have to engage your senses. Take this super simple, incredibly rustic bruschetta recipe, straight from an olive miller in the tiny hill town of Civita di Bagnoregio. Step 1, toast your bread over coals. Step 2, rub it with some fresh garlic. Step 3, add tomatoes and salt. And Step 4, drizzle it with a really good extra virgin olive oil. I mean, that isn't just a list of ingredients, right? It's a total testament to the authentic, simple, and rich culture that was forged in the hard-fought history of central Italy.
Moving on to Section 4, Rome, the Eternal City's Layers.
Okay, from those charming, sleepy small towns, we are plunging straight into absolute monumentality. Because Rome isn't just one thing. It's literally a city of stacked historical layers. First, you have ancient Roman grandeur, where massive monuments like the Colosseum remind us of this ancient pageantry, and the Pantheon stands as a genuine 2,000-year-old marvel. But then, layered right on top of that, you have Renaissance splendor, and what the source so perfectly calls Baroque razzle-dazzle, where churches are just slathered with spiral columns and little cupids doing flip-flops. Then, lodged right in the heart of the city is the Vatican mystique. This is the spiritual capital for over 1 billion Catholics, featuring the totally monumental St. Peter's Basilica. And running through all of these ancient and sacred layers, the absolutely vibrant modern Italian street life. Let me tell you, after dark, ancient squares like Campo de Fiori completely transform into these bustling, super energetic night markets. It is literally centuries of human history perpetually partying under the stars.
Section 5, Southern Intensity, Naples and the Amalfi Coast.
So if you're enjoying the urban intensity of Italy, as far south as Rome, our source famously notes, go further south. It literally just gets better. As you plunge deeper down the peninsula, Italy visibly, tangibly intensifies. Naples is the leading city of the south, and it is a captivating cauldron of community. Everything here happens right out on the streets, exactly as it has for centuries. You'll see kids turning a random sidewalk into a soccer field, neighbors having highly heated curbside arguments, and people grabbing fast food in the form of folded pizza to go. It breathes, it laughs, and it does it all with a very heavy, captivating accent. And then, just a short drive south from this urban cauldron, you hit the dramatic Amalfi Coast. Here you can drive along these breathtaking, cantilevered roads that just cling to the vertical terrain high above the twinkling Mediterranean Sea. It is a dizzying, wild contrast to the serene canals we saw up north.
And finally, Section 6, Sicily, the Beautiful Chaos.
For our grand finale, we are crossing the water. Sicily is the massive island perched right off the southern end of the peninsula, and it is entirely defined by its incredibly complicated 2,500-year past. Think about this timeline. The island was ruled by the Greeks back in the 5th century BC, leaving behind magnificent sites like the impressively preserved Greek temples of Agrigento. Then came the Romans, then the Arabs in the 9th century AD, the Normans in the 11th century, and the Spaniards in the 15th century. All of that happened before it finally became part of modern Italy. And here's the thing. Every single one of these overlords left an indelible mark on Sicily's architecture, its remarkably diverse cuisine, and its noisy, deeply energetic metropolis of Palermo.
Because of this incredibly deep melting pot of a history, the local mindset here is completely distinct from the rest of the country. People here consider themselves Sicilian first and Italian second. It's a fiercely independent, full-bodied culture. And you don't just see this history strictly in the ancient ruins, you feel this boisterous spirit today, especially in the lively markets of Palermo. You can wander through this massive commotion of stalls, completely entertained by these loud, highly dramatic, singing salesmen who are just constantly competing for your attention. It's absolute magic.
So from the serene, beautifully decaying elegance of Venice's canals, all the way down to the loud, singing chaos of Sicily's markets, Italy really is a country that seems tailor-made to fulfill our deepest travel dreams. We've tracked an incredible escalation of intensity, culture, art, and obviously edible delights today. Which leaves us with one final, provocative question for you. Where will you find your dolce vita? Are you drawn to the tranquil, laid-back countryside of the Tuscan hill towns? Maybe the historical weight of Rome's ancient layers? Or the vibrant, beautiful chaos of the Deep South? Whatever your flavor, I really hope this explainer has inspired you to keep learning, to keep exploring, and to uncover those incredible layers for yourself.